All right, everyone. Welcome to break. Yeah, Matthew?
Yeah, first we have Mr. Raymond.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Your feedback is a gift, and the school would like to invite all students to participate in our next distance learning survey. It is posted on our distance learning site on the left on the navigation bar. It gives you an opportunity to share some feedback about synchronous days, asynchronous days, break, and this is really valuable feedback for us as we move into the remainder of distance learning. We hope that you'll complete the survey by the end of day tomorrow so that we can take a look at it over the weekend. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Thank you. Mr. Key.
Good morning, everybody. I had two quick announcements. First, I just wanted to thank faculty, staff, and especially the students for the last 3 weeks. I know it's not easy going to distance learning and now being isolated in our homes. And I just wanted to thank everybody for that. It's gone as smooth as I think it could have gone. I think it's been a success. As Mr. Raymond said, we want to hear your feedback. But most importantly, I just wanted to express my gratitude to everyone. I've talked to other heads at other schools, and it did not go as smoothly for them. So I'm just really appreciative of everyone. So thank you. And then more importantly, Friday is a day off. So it's not a synchronous day. It's not an asynchronous day. So I just wanted to remind everybody of that for faculty, staff, and students. I hope you enjoy Friday. Get out, take a hike, watch Netflix, do something fun. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Peters.
Greetings all. I just want to give you a little historical background. We are, for the athletics side, we are members of the Pacific Coast Athletic League. We have 34 schools in our league. It's the largest league in California. We are also a member of the CIF, which is the California Interscholastic Federation, and there are 10 sections in the state. And we are the members of the Central Coast section, hence the term CCS. 152 schools and over 158,000 students in the CCS section. And I want to announce that our very own Sophia Sinico was awarded a CCS Scholar Athlete Award this year as one of two, I believe, winners of that award. So not only was she the scholar athlete of the largest league in California, the PCAL, Pacific Coast Athletic League, but she is now the winner of the Central Coast Section Scholar Athlete Award, and I think that's really great, and we should give her a huge hand. Thank you. Right
on. Miss Williston.
Hold on. Okay, I know you guys are going to get tired of me making student council announcements, but this will be my last one. So speeches are going to happen tomorrow at 10:05 on this link. So please, everybody, show up. And please, candidates, keep your speeches down to 2 minutes. And then voting will happen directly after. It will be a Google form. We'll have that open from, I'm hoping, right after, I'm hoping speeches will be done by around 10:30, 10:40. So then we'll have it open until 3 o'clock. Vote once, and then we'll publish the results after that. So voting tomorrow between like 10:40 and 3 o'clock. Make sure you get your vote in. It will be closed down after that, and that's all. Then you don't have to hear any more student council announcements from me.
All right, Mr. Colby.
Hey, thanks, Matthew. Just have an announcement about something coming down the pike tomorrow, but as sort of an explanation of why I think it's important. I wanted to say, I miss being on campus, like I think all of you do. One of the things I miss is running up South Boundary Road after classes. And those of you who've done that know that when you look to the right, about halfway up, you see those big sandstone cliffs looking down the valley. It's really cool. That's sedimentary rock, of course, which forms when dust and sand settles and then gets compacted into rock. And I think that's a really good metaphor for the way that our identities grow slowly out of the experiences that come floating our way. As a teen, you're all still kind of forming yourselves, and each experience has a far greater impact on your identity than it does when you get to be your teachers or your parents' age. That's why we still listen to the music we liked in high school. Some of us still, have the same haircut, even if it's, not the greatest music or not the greatest haircut. But when you look at those sandstone cliffs, you're looking at not just layers of sand, but you're looking at a record of time, right? And each layer sort of reflects the time during which it was laid down. Changes in color and composition reflect what was happening in the air, the water at that moment. And usually sedimentary rocks from distant places don't really correspond to one another. But if that rock went far down enough near south boundary and you could look at it, you'd see this dark chalky layer, a few inches thick, that corresponds to about 65 million years ago. And as some of you I'm sure know, that layer of rock with its unique chemical signature is found right the way around the world at that same level. This is a little bit like looking at, small town newspapers from some day in history and finding that they're all writing about the exact same thing, right? It doesn't really make a lot of sense unless you realize, of course, that it's the Cretaceous tertiary boundary, right? Which was caused by something cataclysmic and global. Probably a meteor scorched the earth, killed 3/4 of the species on the planet, including dinosaurs, sadly. And I think some of you see where I'm going here. We're currently living in a story that is being written about by every small town newspaper on the planet. It's an event that's putting this common layer of experience into the sediment of each of us. And maybe you believe that the cultural dust that's settling on us right now, the news, the TV, the memes, all that stuff, is kind of out of our control, and you're just a passive recipient. But I like to believe that in deciding how we spend our time, and particularly in deciding what we read and what we watch, we are choosing what we kind of brush away and what we allow to collect and harden into our identity, who we are. So if you're reading a lot of news right now and you're wondering who decides what gets printed and why, there's a conversation happening tomorrow that I think you might be interested in. So join us at noon in my classroom. We'll be speaking with a woman named Rachel Dry, who's the politics editor of the New York Times. She's been in the news business for a long time. She's this fascinating person working in the heart of American news to shape the national conversation. She's someone who's sort of pulling levers, deciding what sort of cultural dust is out there floating around and settling on us. So if that sounds interesting to you, I hope you'll join us for a conversation. Again, that's noon tomorrow in my virtual classroom, which you can find on the York Distance Learning links. Hope to see you guys there.
Cool. All right, and lastly, we have Ms. Traxel.
All right. My internet has been going in and out, so I apologize if it goes black all of a sudden. So I wanted to make sure I get this announcement in, which is, so we are going to start having yoga classes. I've had some requests. Our first yoga class is today at 4 p.m. And every Wednesday, we're going to have yoga classes at 4 o'clock. You go to my classroom link, the Google Meet, and just wear comfortable clothes and try to stretch out. And since it looks like my internet's still on, I'd like to show you a few yoga moves then, so if everyone could stand up, because what's happening is that we're all on our computers all the time, and this is what our postures are starting to look like this. Okay, and if you can imagine our heads, they're like as heavy as bowling balls. And so if you are going like this, then your cervical vertebrae is taking all the weight, and it is really putting a lot of pressure there. What you need to do is when you stand up, okay, then go ahead and press into your feet, okay, and then move your shoulders back. Okay, so when you're at the computer, do this like every 20 minutes or so. Okay, so you inhale and then you exhale and you really pull your shoulders back and press into your feet when you do this. Okay, so inhale and then exhale. And one more time, inhale and then exhale, and do that like every 20 minutes when you're on the computer, all right? And another thing, this right here, so clasping your hand and push it out, really lengthening the spine, again, pressing into your feet. And then make sure your bottom doesn't stick out, okay, and really move your sits bones and really stretch up. Okay, and then the last thing I want to show you is this is a yoga belt, okay, but you could do this with any strap, a strip of cloth, you know, your robe belt or whatever. And I saw this is advertised. People are selling this for money. You could do this with any belt. Okay, so I'm going to show you this. So you put it like this, okay, and then you put it back behind you. And then you're going to make sure it crosses in the back. Okay, so it looks like this. Okay, so cross in the back. Okay, then
The shoulders.
you just pull. You pull it. Okay, and this is going to remind you. And then you walk around the house like this. Okay, and you're really pulling it here. And you can walk out in public like this too. And just walk around and remember your posture. And perhaps every once in a while on the computer, reminding yourself, okay, to pull that back, because you want your bowling ball of a head to be supported by all your bones, okay, and all your muscles and everything like that, okay, and not all on your cervical vertebrae, see, so pulling, all right? And last thing I want to say is that I believe it was that comedian, was the John Mulaney, who said that the reason we have our bodies is to support our heads as we walk around, okay, because our brains and our minds and our intelligence, that's what makes us separate from the animals, that's what makes us unique. So let's make sure we support our bowling ball heads with our bodies and bones and muscles. All right, and I hope to see a bunch of you today at 4 o'clock and every Wednesday after that for yoga class. All right, thanks.
This is great. We got like a yoga lesson, like some philosophy in there. Like, nice. Now we have at least one sophomore speech. Josephina?
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I turned my camera off because my internet is not working very well. But okay. So I have 2 announcements of my own. One, just make sure that when you're commenting, it relates to whoever's speaking and it's not distracting for whoever's speaking. Because there have been some comments that aren't going along with the announcements, and they're just, if you wouldn't say it during break, don't say it in the comments. So and then also, so for our Spirit Week, we're going to be doing a baby photo Kahoot again. So if you have baby photos that you are willing to send to us, send them to Suyan or Henriette, or York Falcon Feed Instagram. Oh, and then also Miss Barry just said no comments at all during sophomore speeches. And so without further ado, our sophomore speech is Jade.
Yeah, Jade! Yeah, Jade!
I'm a pretty self-critical person, but it wasn't always like that. When I was younger, nothing really mattered to me besides my princess costumes or what I was going to have for dinner that night. Then as I got older, things changed. I used to do ballet, and I loved it at first, going to class nearly every day of the week. It made me really, really happy. As I got older, though, I became more and more reluctant to show up to class. I had a lot of trouble with myself because I didn't fit the mold of what a typical ballerina should look like. I wasn't as tall or as lean as the other girls in my class, and I didn't think that my skill level was enough to make up for my flaws. There then came a time where I found myself making excuses not to go to practice, saying things like, I have too much homework, or my stomach hurts, or I don't feel good. It got to the point where I rarely, if ever, attended classes, so I decided to quit. I mean, why not? So what that I had wasted nearly 8 years of training? I was unhappy, and I barely even danced anymore. The same thing happened with other things I love to do, like soccer and piano and track. I quit all of them. I used to excel academically. I was a straight A student, never missed school, and read so many books to the point where my parents had to threaten to donate my books to the library so that I would be forced to do something else. As I grew up, however, this all shifted. Nothing came easy to me anymore. I stopped reading for fun. No matter how many hours I studied, my grades declined. Nothing I did was good enough. I pretty much gave up even trying to do well because I was so convinced that I couldn't. One day, after I had ranted to my older sister about how I had just done poorly on yet another test and how I couldn't seem to do anything right anymore, she asked me a question. She said, "Would you ever talk to one of your friends like that? The way you talk about yourself?" And I immediately was like, oh no, of course not. It'd probably be really hurtful and emotionally damaging. I would never speak to someone that way. "And why do you do it to yourself?" she asked. I couldn't answer her. For years, I thought so many negative things about myself, and eventually I just stopped trying to argue against those thoughts. I was miserable. I quit all the things I love to do because I felt so insecure about my performance. I ran away from these things because I was so concerned about what I thought about myself. After that conversation, I realized that I needed to change something about my life and the way I lived. And I'm not going to jump right back into 6 dance classes a week in an hour and a half of piano every day because that's ridiculous. But I can start small, build my way back up to confidence, tell myself that I don't need to be perfect at everything, find things to do that I enjoy. I've discovered that I quite like photography and drawing, and most of the time the art that I produce makes me feel good. And no, I'm not 100% happy with myself all the time, but no one is. And I've learned to be easier on myself and more confident in my ability to do things. It's rough sometimes, but being here where I am now, compared to a year ago, has been worth every step of the way. And I encourage everyone to take some time for themselves, like I've been doing, to focus on things that make me happy and things that make me feel proud of what I've accomplished. Because all the love that I have is wasted if I don't save some of it for myself. Thank you.
Yeah, Paige.
Beautiful.
All right, that was another fantastic sophomore speech. You guys are doing amazing. Yeah, thank you. Matthew?
Yeah, that's it, I think. Go to class.
Lost the last bit of that speech.